Here we go. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. If you want to listen to our archives, we have them free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including Rocket Out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. For decades, the field of ufology has been dominated by men. Yet, much of the best information, contacts, and informative news has come from the women in this field. So together tonight, we have brought together 5 of these great minds to take a look at UFOs, disclosure, narratives from a woman's perspective. Joining us for this special edition tonight are researchers and experiencers Melinda Leslie and Lorien Fenton. Intuitive and Contactee Celestine Star will join us next hour, as well as researcher Nicole Sakach and lifelong experiencer and a good friend of mine, Samantha Mowat. Tonight, we will help delve deep into the current status of ufology. Are we heading to disclosure? Are we moving towards the experiencer? Are we having the wool pulled over our eyes once again? These ladies have the answer. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Right now, we have Lorien Fenton, we have Samantha Mowat, and Nicole Sakach joining us. We're going to try and hook up with Melinda, as she was just having some phone connection problems here. We will get to her momentarily. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having us, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. Glad to be here.
Thank you.
There's Lorien. There she is. Always cheer. Every time Lorien talks, it's just like a big smile on her face. Thank you. I love it. Love it. Lorien, I am going to say this about Lorien Fenton. If you don't know whom she is is one of the people who took to Spaced Out Radio early, and she's really provided a launching platform for what we do. We owe a lot of what we do to Lorien. And Lorien, I love telling people that, because you deserve the credit that goes along with it.
Dave, thank you. I really appreciate that. That's sweet. Especially since today's my birthday. You didn't have a choice, did you?
No, well, let's sing happy
Dave,
birthday.
Oh, no, that's okay. You don't have to sing happy birthday. You can just say happy, birthday, and leave it at that. And it cracks me up because it's
Melinda Leslie with UFO sighting tours.
Her phone's still
got
dead.
her answering
right
machine
now,
again.
so please leave your name and phone number, and I'll be happy to call you back. Thank you so much. Please have an adventurous and blessed day.
And we'll try her in a couple of minutes here. Her phone had died, so we'll try her back. Yes, Lorien, I appreciate that. Happy birthday from all of us at Spaced Out Radio.
I appreciate that. I really do. And I'm just happy to make it to 63. Unbelievable. When we hit 65, though, I'll tell you what, Dave, I'm coming to Canada. We're going to party for a week, because hopefully hockey will be back. Real hockey will be back by then. Jesus. Well, I can't take more of this fake hockey stuff.
I can tell you this, my Canucks are still in the playoffs. That's all that matters right now.
I know.
All that matters right now.
It's weird watching them play with nobody there to watch them and scream. It's weird. I don't like it.
It is totally weird.
I'll have to survive it. That's the way it goes. Okay, enough of hockey.
I know. Samantha, for being a Canadian, is like, what's a puck?
Whoa. I played field hockey. I've dated my fair share of hockey players. Thank you.
Oh, I love you. I love you. So for people who don't know, I have a personal connection with Samantha. And for those who don't know the story, I met Samantha on April 15th, 2014. And after meeting this lovely lady for the first time, 25 minutes after meeting her, she walks me into a forest and face-to-face with an extraterrestrial. That is how real she is. And in my opinion, she is one of the best-kept secrets in ufology. I don't know if that's a good thing to be, because she is extremely experienced. She is extremely knowledgeable, and her voice and her opinion in my world has been one of the strongest ever when it comes to everything we do with UFOs, everything we do with extraterrestrials, everything that I do for my own personal experiences. And Samantha is like a sister to me, and I love and adore her. And to have her on this panel is extremely important to me because I think she is a powerful voice that has not got enough press for the knowledge that she has. So, Samantha, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Dave. And Lorien, happy birthday. I'm so excited. I'm going to have to send you something, so I have to get your address later so I can send you a present.
Oh, God, that'd be great. Send me a little alien. Kick one out of your house. I know they're taking over, so tell them to go live with me instead. There you go.
Done. And a baby goat, maybe, for the goat farm.
Oh, a baby goat. Yeah, how about an alien goat? I'm still trying to figure out if they make those or not. But anyhow, okay, thank you, sweetheart.
And Nicole Sakach is here. Nicole is best known for helping be a research partner of Grant Cameron. She is an experiencer as well. She is one of the newer voices in the field of ufology that is gaining and garnering a lot of trust and respect for the way she works. And Nicole, welcome to this panel tonight. You have been a very strong supporter of what we do on Spaced Out Radio, and I just want to say thank you for being there for us as well.
Thank you, Dave. I love coming on your show and getting a chance to woo it up. And this time being able to woo it up with the gals, that's going to be even more exciting than usual, I think.
I think so too. And we're just waiting for to connect with Melinda Leslie. She says her phone is ready to go, and hopefully there she is. Melinda Leslie, like Lorien Fenton, is one of my heroes and mentors in this field. And, Melinda is not only an experiencer, but she is very tapped in to what is going on in the UFO community. And Melinda, we could not do a panel like this without you here.
Well, thank you so much. Sorry, everyone, for the technical problems. I ran around today like a chicken with a head cut off, and didn't realize that I had used up all the strength of my phone. And I get home 20 minutes before tonight. And so, Dave, I'm ruining it. Here you said all this nice stuff about me, and I'm ruining it with, total lack of professionalism. I get home 20 minutes before. I'm ready at 1:45 for the call, except for one slight problem. I'd forgotten all day to ever charge up my phone, and it died. So hopefully it holds up. If it doesn't, just give me 5 minutes, call me back, and hopefully it's charging fast enough now to hold up. But I apologize for that, Dave.
Well, the only thing I'll tell you what I'm happy about, Melinda, is this is the first time I think you've been on the air with me where you haven't rubbed it in that you just went through the Taco Bell drive-thru, knowing that I do not have Taco Bell in my town, and that hurts me more. That hurts me more.
It's funny you should say that, because I went out for not Taco Bell, but really good Mexican food here in town. Really good Mexican food.
That is awesome. That is absolutely.
I don't eat very much fast food. I haven't been through our Taco Bell in probably years. But
yeah. All right. Let's get into it, ladies.
Wait. Speaking of tacos, I'm opening my email, and it's a Jack in the Box. It says happy birthday. And it says I get 2 free tacos through the drive-in today. Woo! So I got to get down there after the show and get my 2 tacos.
Absolutely. Well, have one for me. Ladies, all 4 of you have made, especially you, Lorien and Melinda, have made major impacts in the field of ufology, along with people like Kathleen Marden, who we tried to get on here, but unfortunately, due to timing and circumstances, she couldn't make it. Cheryl Costa as well. The role of women in ufology has not been a prevalent role, and I think that's for the wrong, because it doesn't matter to me whether a person is male, female, trans, whatever they may be, whatever they could absolutely do to bring this field forward is what should matter. Yet for a long time, Lorien, women have kind of been held back in this field. Are we seeing a changing of the guard moving forward here?
I wish I could say yes, but I don't feel that way, Dave. I'm sorry to say. I look around me and there are more women that are more articulate, thorough researchers. They are amazing. And usually they're behind a guy somewhere making him look really good in the UFO community, which is very interesting to me. And I find it interesting that we as a group are always overlooked when it comes to a conference. It's like they'll pick a whole slew of guys and then they'll go, oh, shoot, we don't have any women. Maybe we better get one or two, and then we're like an afterthought to everything. And I just think this is so sad because the women really, we have the pulse of what's going on. We see the bigger picture. We're not myopic. It's very interesting to me how the men run everything and then they just play with each other like it's an old boys club. I'm sorry to say. And with the Two Stars Academy coming down the pike and, always MUFON. MUFON's always had a problem with not having a woman. And I got to tell you, after the whole escapades of last month with MUFON, I prayed and I called everybody on the board practically and said, you better get a woman as the executive director or you're in trouble. And they didn't do it, which is sad. So, okay, I'm going to leave it at that because I could just go on and on about how angry I am about a lot of things. But no, women are still being overlooked. And I'm sorry to say it's a sad situation. But, hopefully with, the tenaciousness of myself and Melinda and Samantha and all the women on the call tonight, we can start making some headway. I don't know where and how, but we got to do it. So it's that simple.
And Dave, this is Melinda. I agree with absolutely everything Lorien just said. But what also gets me is, why are we an afterthought when there's so many women in the field doing incredible work? It's like we're not recognized for the work that we do. And some of these people have been doing incredible work for a really long time. And Lorien's right. It's always been an old boys club, Now, luckily, there's young blood coming in the field. That's a really positive change with this whole, what Grant Cameron has called the Young Guns movement, And there's many of these guys. I know a bunch of them who are listening tonight. But it's like with conferences and whatnot, why aren't the women thought of right away? Like Lorien said, a lot of times it's like, oh, we don't have a woman, we have to get a woman, or we've got so many guys, let's get two women. Don't get us because get women. Get us because our research is good. There's so many women doing incredible work in the field. And it's like, why isn't that recognized? Why? There is this mentality about it. I'm sorry, but it's there. And I think all women in the field feel it. And it's like, now I also, though, on that same note, I'll blame the women to a small degree. And that's because as women in the field, we often think we can't speak up. We can't have a strong voice. We can't be assertive. It's been often in the history of this UFO field anyways, viewed, badly. And the thing is, I encourage women to say, look, I know, I could list 100 women, probably, 30 of them that are doing just the most amazing work. And it's like, women, you need to speak up. You need to be known. You need to get your voice known and get it out there about what you're doing. Because again, like the conference producers, it shouldn't be, oh, we need a woman. It should be, let's have the best people in the field doing the best work. And yeah, okay, there might be a slightly higher percentage of men in the field doing work, but for every, 10 men doing it, you better be on that list thinking of 2 women or more, because there are a lot of women doing incredible work. The thing is, we're not recognized for the work that we do. And that's true. Everyone's go-to is Linda Moulton Howe. Well, you guys, there's a lot of people that are doing equally amazing work, and some of them have been doing it almost as long, And again, though, I tell the women, you got to get your work known. You got to speak up. You got to call the conference producers and say, you need to have me, and this is why. And if you've written a book, get it in front of the producers of the conferences, the radio shows. I mean, Dave, thank God you're an exception here. You've always been really good about recognizing the women in the field. You've never been at one of the problems. And luckily, there are other guys in the field. But often it's the conference producers, like Lorien said, and often it's women, conference producers. It's like, look, why aren't you following? Especially if you are a woman in this field, why aren't you following what the other women are doing? It's like, what's wrong with that picture? So, and it's a shame in this year, 2020, we're still having to bitch about this, and a lot of people will see it negative. They'll see it as we're bitching about it. And it's like, well, wait a second, we're not thought of instantly. We're not, and Lorien and I say, hey, it's not about us. It's, her and I could both list 30, 40, 50, even 100 women each that are amazing people. And a lot of them have written books. It's like, come on, people. Why aren't you following what the women are doing? And again, not because they're women, but because their work is good. I almost feel like there's a discrimination against women because no one chooses to follow their work. It's like, really? And then I see spouses of well-known UFO researchers taking the back seat. It's like, what's up with that? And
Melinda, they're the ones doing all the research in most cases, which makes me laugh.
Well, let's get Samantha and Nicole are kind of, well, Nicole's been around a little bit. Samantha has kind of been more of a hidden name in there. Samantha, I want to bring you in here because not only I think are you one of the most credible experiencers out there, and I know that firsthand before we even started this show ever. And, you were right there actually when the night we started, I believe. And I look at it and I look at you as an experiencer here and someone who has tried to get that female perspective into ufology about what you've gone through and trying to bring credible information with what you have been told, not only from your ET contacts, but other experiences as well. How hard and difficult has that been for you?
I'm very fortunate in the sense because I have wonderful women like Lorien and, of course, like Melinda and like Mary Rodwell, who have been very kind to help try to break that glass ceiling that we all have in front of us. And I totally appreciate everything they've done. I haven't been listening to my guides and the beings I work with releasing the videos that they want and working on the things that they've asked because I did take a step back. But I do look at what they're talking about. And both these women have a fantastic point, Dave. It's much harder for women to break into ufology than it is for men. And they are right. It is a boys' club. The amount of times that I've seen men disregard me with the information I present and go to a man who only has like 2 or 3 encounters, I'm like, okay, fine. I'm just going to write your name down in my book and realize that you're not going to find my information as relevant because I have female body parts. Unfortunately, they do disregard us because we are still in a patriarchy. We're moving past it, thank goodness. Nicole, what do you think?
Oh, I'm sitting back kind of quietly here, aren't I? Because I do agree with everything, almost everything we all just spoke about. And this is a battle that's outside of ufology as well. I think all of us in our careers have probably faced these mountains, and we still do day to day. I know I do. And I'm a chef in my real world job, and I work in a male dominant industry in my business. And, it's a fight across all boards in some senses. And I think in ufology, what I find most lacking with the view of women and being disregarded, I think it's because we dare to venture into the wooier subjects or take more of a left brain and a right brain perspective of it because it's our natural nature. I mean, we're women. We do use both sides of our brains.
Nicole,
all the time.
Pardon me for interrupting, but are you making reference to the aspect of how all the women that Dave has on his show tonight are highly intuitive and the fact that we're looking at our psychic abilities in conjunction with our experiences? Do you mean a reference to that instead of just focusing on the nuts and bolts of ufology?
Yes, I do. I think we're able to move past just like the history aspects or just the nuts and bolts or just the politics involved in these issues. And we do try to get at the root of the phenomenon, I think, in ways that men don't. I guess this is the women's show, so I can be brazen and just call out guys. But to me, most often men seem kind of secular in the type of ufology that they follow. So as soon as you bring up a woman who might be interested in, let's say, remote viewing or consciousness, if that's out of their element of thinking in a scientific nuts and bolts way, they think it's unprovable, they shut the whole aspect of research down, is what I find. So if you look at it that way, ufology is very limited from that perspective. You know, if they're looking for women who are just historians in this field, that's really limited. There's not a lot of women who just claim to be one thing, you know?
Yeah,
I do.
We got 2 minutes left before we got to go to break. And I think
agree.
that's an important part to make, Nicole and Melinda and Lorien, quickly here. You know, women seem to have a more well-rounded role, as Samantha and Nicole said, about not only being experienced, but also digging into the research and having a lot of intuitive ability to combine with that as well.
Yes.
Well,
absolutely.
Well, I was just going to say, go ahead, Melinda. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to comment on something both women said. First off, Samantha had said about experiencers and people with firsthand contact or abduction, or, you know, just say experiencers all around, that a lot of times they'll go to the man who's got one experience or one predominant experience they're talking about, as opposed to a woman who's got, and I get it, maybe that experience has evidence and witnesses, but there are women that maybe have 10 really good contact experiences with witnesses and evidence, and yet they'll go to the man. And it's like, Samantha, I hear you. It's like, it's one thing that all experiencers in the field take a backseat. That's a whole other thing, you know, besides women. But to go to the fact that these men who have one predominant experience, and it's not like it's a better experience. It's like people aren't paying attention to the women who have the evidence for their experience or witnesses, you know, and it's like, what goes there? It's not because they're man, they have more credibility. Granted, there's some really credible male guys in the field who are experiencers, abductees, and have amazing cases. I'm not saying that their cases don't, you know, deserve that. But when they're the go-tos, when a woman who has an equally amazing case, or possibly, you know, in the case of, you know, you
Melinda,
and I,
hold that thought, because we got to go right to break here. Women in Ufology continues when we come back on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to take a look at what is currently happening now in the field of UFOs. Is it good for the public, or are we getting the wool pulled over our eyes? Next on Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thorne, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
We're taking Sunday nights out of this world on Spaced Out Radio. This is Michael W. Hall, also known as the Paranormal Lawyer. Together, we're going to go on an exciting journey into the unknown. I'm going to bring you some of the best interviews in the paranormal and supernatural to start your new week off on a freaky note. So tune in to Spaced Out Sundays with me, Michael W. Hall, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters, and I am loving tonight. Absolutely loving tonight. I want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we have probably one of the brightest panels I have ever had on this show. Women in Ufology is a subject led by leaders and mentors and researchers and experiencers in this field that they have information that is absolutely second to none. But are women ignored in this field? And that's where we're going to start here, because our panel so far, we have Melinda Leslie, Lorien Fenton, Samantha Mowat, and Nicole Sakach. Celestine Star will join us at the top of the hour. Melinda, you wanted to chime in here about consciousness.
Yeah, I wanted to make a comment on what Nicole had said right before the break about, yes, women address that, and maybe that's to a lot of people in the field who emphasize, as Nicole very articulately and well said, that people emphasize the nuts and bolts kind of it, and the conscious stuff is left out. But there are some men that address it, and someone who very recently has been a new addition to the field, and he was on Grant's panels with us, is Jay from Project Unity. And just today, and I recommend everyone go to Project Unity and check this out, he did a state of what's going on with disclosure, which I know we're going to get into here in just a minute, but he did a state of that, and at the end of it, he got into the most important part to be remembered in the whole process is the consciousness part. And here it was refreshing to hear this not only from a guy and from a young guy in the field, but to also have a guy saying, look, he has a problem with being accepted in the field because he gets into that part, and people respect him for the research that he's done and these amazing interviews and YouTube videos that he's made, which he's catching attention from everyone in the field. But at the same time, he interjects into that the importance of the consciousness, and I applaud him for going there, and I feel his frustration. So here's a guy saying, people have a hard time with that part of me. They like what I do with interviews and everything, but they have a hard time with the fact, and they don't completely grasp that he's this champion for the importance of consciousness in the field. And he kind of lamented about it in the end of this amazing update that he did, that he just posted today on Project Unity's YouTube channel. But I felt for him because it's like, wow, he's feeling that as a guy in the field. Well, in adding to what Nicole said, you know, compound that for a woman in the field, you know, it's like, you know, and I also applaud that I listened to some new pieces that Linda Moulton Howe did, where she's always kind of embraced that here and there, but she's talking about it quite a bit now, and I applaud her for talking about it as well. But for Jay as a guy to say, look, I'm having, you know, I have concerns about that I'm taking seriously because I also address this other stuff. And Jay, if you're listening, please do. I applaud you for that. I agree with you 1,000% that you're doing that. And I applaud you for having the courage and sticking to your guns to say that's important. You're extremely articulate and you bring a voice to it. And so here's a guy saying, look, because it's consciousness, I have a hard time with everybody embracing it. And it's us as women on the field, like Nicole just said, we can certainly understand that, you know, so that but again, I say to the women out there in the field, put your foot down, like Jay, you know, say, this is my deal. This is what I talk about. And I encourage everyone else in the field, look, when a guy, as we just said before, a guy who has one contact experience and evidence and witnesses, well, don't discount that there's might be a woman who's got 10 of those with evidence and witnesses, you know, that, so it's
all like,
right. Yeah. Anyways, thank you. I've said what I wanted to there, but
I love it. Thank you, Melinda. All right, let's get to Lorien. Hold on one second, Nicole. Let's get over to Lorien because I know she wanted to jump in here on this one too.
Well, I just wanted to say quickly that Samantha said something about guys that are like historians, and if we need to pay attention, I'm thinking, yeah, these guys get up on a stage, and I've said this for years, and you guys know I don't pull any punches with it. I have no respect for anybody on a stage at any conference who has never had a contact experience. They don't belong on a ufology stage. I don't care how intelligent they are. I don't care how many books they've read. I don't care what they've done. I don't care if they call themselves an historian. I don't give a rat's patootie, because if they're not an ET experiencer on some level, whether it be angels or demons or, I don't care what it is, unless you've had a consciousness experience like Melinda was just talking about, then don't even do it, because you're going to lose a lot of people going into the future, because that's where we're heading. Consciousness is going to be key. Number 2, there is a whole thing about the guys we were talking about on the break, and that is this. The women embrace their encounters with the ETs. They can handle them a lot better. We're mothers, we're sisters. We have this ability to nurture. And even the gray little guys with the bobbly heads, like Melinda calls them, they deserve love too, in some weird way. As women on this planet, we seem to care about them in that way, whereas the men are always the victim. They're always afraid. Not always, but I'm saying as a rule, when they get on a stage, it's all about, man, this happened to me and I don't know what to do, and they spend their whole time on stage being this big victim of the aliens, and everybody's oohing and on about them being a victim. Whereas like Samantha, who has an amazing presentation, she spoke for me twice. She's amazing. And she gets up on stage and she's like, yes, and this is my baby from, this time. And this is my little purple kid from, Andromeda strain 3, 4, 5. And, she's going on about it and how she loves them. And they hang out at the house. And it's like, oh, cool. As a woman, I think it's fantastic. But I could see that the guys in the room are confused. They're just confused. They don't understand this embracement of it all. And like you said, Dave, they didn't ever ask you if they could probe you in places, and whereas the women, we go through gynecological exams all the time, so it's not really that big of a deal, So there you go. Anyhow, that's my take on it.
All right. Let's move on here, because, that we have so many different subjects to cover. And, the field of ufology over the last couple of years has taken a rightful course finally in the mainstream media. You can thank a lot of the people in regards to the Stars Academy and a lot of the hard work that has been going on behind the scenes. But at what point, and Nicole, I'm going to start with you on this one, if you don't mind. At what point are we maybe looking at this a little bit too hazy, or maybe a little bit too much with rosy eyes? Because I remember listening when I came into this field just 5.5 years ago, and I got to meet people like Lorien and Melinda. The one thing that I was always told is, beware of the spooks. They're out there. And I always thought, this is way too cloak and dagger for me. This is kind of awesome. But on the flip side, here we are, absolutely believing all of these spooks that have for years and decades told us that there was nothing to do with UFOs. You're crazy. This is not happening. What are you talking about? Berating and belittling people, mocking people, destroying people's reputations. And now it's almost the same cast of characters who are saying, oh, you can believe me. I've got the public in mind. I got the public's interest. I'm here for you. Nicole, this is very confusing for a lot of us in the UFO field.
It is very confusing. And I think especially so if you're new coming into this time in ufology, you're being hit with this pop culture of ufologies being in general news and media, and it's at the forefront in some legislation. I mean, these are some times that are very exciting, but I try to step back often. And I think I think back to when I was very new to online ufology, and it all seems so very conspiratorial, especially when you're talking about these spooks or government players, or even what I consider to be the good guys, fighting the disclosure fight, whether they're in TTSA or, they're coming out in different ways from our government. And yes, we are in this highly conspiratorial time where we don't trust our government, and we know that they've been hiding this or hiding things or not being transparent for the last 70 years. And I think really what we're seeing is they know we're fed up. They know we're fed up, and they know there are thousands and thousands of us now. And we are punching holes in these cover-ups to where they don't hold water anymore. And especially with this younger generation coming in who has kind of been born into this conspiracy, and they see through it, and they've followed the diligent work of researchers over the years, men and women. And when they do the diligence, like many of them do, they see the truth behind it all, and they get hopeful in the time that we're in. But anybody who doesn't take the time, I think, falls into that fear factor, and that's why the threat talk sounds very ominous. And when they haven't done research, abduction stories can sound terrifying, especially when they're only listening to a few prominent abduction male stories. It seems like the scariest stories at the forefront in ufology never have the follow-up of the years of what that experiencer has gone through to rectify their situation. And this is where, like you were bringing up over the last few weeks, Dave, this is where the media definitely falls short. We're only hearing a slice of the true narrative behind this. And that's what I find spooky. It's not that we're listening to government agents or people like Elizondo or Rick Doty. And it's not that we believe every single thing that they say, but it does count for something when you have conversations with these people. And if you get them to keep talking and talking and talking, then eventually you'll be able to punch holes if they're being untruthful, or eventually you'll be able to go, aha, he was speaking about this then, and now he's speaking about this now, and now so-and-so can corroborate it. I mean, that's what we're all hopeful for. Will that happen? Maybe, maybe not. But if we just box people out, whether it's a spook or a former spook or a government agent or ex-military, whatever, or a woman that's into too much woo research, if we keep boxing people out because we think their sector of ufology is different from ours, then we're mistaken. This is a big umbrella, and we've got to figure it out together.
Let's bring in Samantha here. What are your thoughts on Nicole's comments?
What Nicole's saying, I just want to make it very clear that we don't mean all men. That is not one thing we're doing. We love men. We really do. And sorry for my dog, of course, deciding to interject. But Nicole, I agree with you. Like, if time will tell with information, and that is how we tell some of the people who are promoting fear versus others that are giving information that is the best that they can possibly express at this time. But we also have to take into consideration that our opinions can change with time. With some of my encounters that I had when I was younger, some of them did make me afraid. And I would have shared that fearful energy about some of the things that happened to me when I was like 16 that made me nervous. And now I can look at it as a woman in my 30s and be like, okay, they weren't actually being mean to me. That aspect of hybridization, although it made me nervous at the time, was me not understanding because of my level of consciousness. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Oh,
I do. Okay,
Perfect.
so Samantha, with that and the experiences that you've had, because you've run the gamut from the absolute pleasant, adorable experiences that you would love to live by every single day, and you've had the nightmares as well. So for somebody like you who has gone from the most positive feelings in life to the darkest of my lab encounters, Okay, how do you verify the darker side with what is going on in today's ufology? I realize you're somebody who kind of stays on the outside of it because you're more concentrated on trying to figure out what is going on in your world, as well as the people whom you surround yourself with. But for many out there, they don't know anything different.
Well, I think for people who are listening to your show that are MyLabs, you have to record your encounters. Notice the trends that are taking place. If you're a woman going through MyLab experiences, go onto YouTube, type in things like female MyLabs. Look up Lorien, look up Melinda, look up myself, check out all the other women that are MyLabs that you could possibly find information on, see what resonates and what doesn't. The only way you're going to better understand what you're going through is to recognize the trends. When my vibration goes really down, I tend to believe some of the ridiculousness that the MyLab perpetrators and handlers are trying to push upon me. Whether it's the fear agenda or the rape tactics or the beating me up, stuff like that, things that are very vile that they'll do to put you into a place of fear to move me off of my path is something that they do. And the two other women, I'm not sure about you, Nicole, but I know that Lorien and Melinda have both gone through some really horrible things in their encounters. That is part of what being a MyLab unfortunately entails. And when I listen to their stories, and I've listened to the wonderful stories I know Melinda has shared at the last UFO conference I was privileged enough to get to see her present at, some of the things that you will find is that you'll be triggered by other MyLabs at the stories that they tell you, whether it's Max Spears sharing some of the things that he went through, because often MyLabs and MK Ultra can go hand in hand. You will have moments where you're listening, you're like, I can't do this anymore. I'm all of a sudden tired, or I need a cigarette, or I have to go put on a TV show or something else. You'll find there's those trigger points for a lot of people. And I think that you ladies can probably agree with me that when you're listening to other people's information, there's times when you're like, I can't do this anymore. I need a break. And that's something you have to go back to at a later date, is recognizing your trigger points, because that's suppressed information in your subconscious.
And
Melinda
I just,
or Lorien?
Yeah,
I wanted to say something really quickly here before it gets out of my old brain now that I'm 63 years old. I wanted to say this is important. Melinda, myself, and Samantha, and I don't know about Nicole, but we are what I call full charge contactees. In other words, we've run the gamut from, I've had my tongue lasered. I've had voice to skull communication. Melinda and I have been taken together in a mass MyLabs abduction. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy stuff that goes on. I don't talk about it because there's no reason to in my life to bring it up, because it was there for me for a purpose, and I understand what they were doing, and it's my own battle. Okay, that's number one. Number two, but women like ourselves have gone from the MyLabs all the way up to the angel contact and everything in between. And we're still sitting here talking about how amazing being a contactee is and how it's all about consciousness. And I dare you to find very many men in the field who've had all the same things happen to them that are even coherent enough to discuss it, because they're still trying to figure out what happened. And again, I'm going back to this thing. It's the way we think. It's the way we're wired. It's our sex. I don't know. But the men just can't handle all the gamut of stuff. They turn into victims, in my opinion.
And Lorien, I agree with you mostly on that. Of course, there are some exceptions, like anyone who's remained friends and associates with Travis Walton and seen the extent that his journey has taken, he's gone there now. Certainly Whitley has gone there for quite a while. So, so there are guys in the field that have lived with it long enough to address all the various components, including the consciousness, including the empowerment it's given them in their lives. I mean, Travis is an amazing point for someone as a guy who's gone through that journey. That maybe it was a little late in his journey, but he got there, and it's so refreshing to hear him talk about it in that context now.
Yeah, but it's not
and even Whitley. But you're right. Amongst a lot of the males, these are the exception. another person, Eric Mitchell, I think he's gone there in his discussion. I mean, there's going to be male abductees listening to us right now who are going, well, wait a second, I go there, and so they're coming around. They are, and I applaud them for doing that. And
I do too. I'm not saying that I'm totally saying that they're all that like that, but I'm saying they seem to get stuck in a rut for a much longer period of time than the women ever do. And I think, and like I said, I think it goes back to our physiology. We're nurturers. We can do it so much better.
Ladies. Let me jump in and add this to our conversation a little bit, because I have pondered if this is, we're talking about our community here, which we know is male dominated and probably white male dominated, of a certain age dominated even. Mm-hmm. And so like Melinda brought up the point earlier about some of these younger guys, and this is kind of a younger generational trend in how men are raised and how they're kind of being brought up these days to not be so chauvinistic or male and female, where guys are starting to value that they don't have to suppress their own feelings, and they can explore these avenues that are considered girly or always have been in this kind of post-World War II area of time that we're talking about with ufology. Since World War II, it has been that kind of, and I look at it from an American point of view, but it's that, we can do anything. We conquered the war, and that's a lot of the mentality that still, I think, lingers in ufology. And what I find interesting is that men in the field of a certain age, it's like a midlife crisis almost with their experience. It's like all of a sudden, it's like they retire and they're like, whoa, I can think deeply about shit instead of suppressing it. Whereas women, we experience things, and we're taught as women, you can be a victim or you can rise above it, and you can be everything else except a victim. So I think we treat our experiences the same way. We might be afraid of them in a lot of aspects, but we want to move past that fear. We don't want to live lives in fear.
All right, let's get. You know what? We 1 second here, ladies, because we only have about 15 seconds here before we have to go to break. And I think we get the point that that there has been a very underlying aspect to absolutely everything regarding the unfairness and the biasness towards the male counterparts in ufology. And in hour 2, what I want to get into with everything is get back to the focus of really trying to bring to the part from a woman's point of view, the disclosure movement that we are currently in. Is it a disclosure movement? Is it something that is a narrative? Are we being played? These are important questions that we need to get to in regards to it. So everyone stay tuned. We have the absolute best in the field when it comes to women in ufology. Hour 2 with Lorien Fenton, Samantha Mowat, Melinda Leslie, and Nicole Sakach. Will be joined by Celestine Star as well, coming up next on Spaced Out Radio.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at Kajans.com.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi, This is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune us on in. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. All of our archives are always free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Quacksalver. Quacksalver is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we have a great panel with us. First time I've ever done this on the air. I'm glad I have, because we have our first panel of women in ufology. Right now we are joined by Melinda Leslie. We have Lorien Fenton, Samantha Mowat, Nicole Sakach, and we've just been joined by Celestine Star as well as we continue on the panel tonight. Ladies, thank you so much for being here. And I want to get into the whole disclosure movement. And Melinda, we're going to start with you on this one because, you know, for a long time, as we stated right in the last half hour, we had the ability to really work and research, and people were working together to try and figure out what this mystery was that we call UFOs. Are they here? Are they real? Are these experiences really happening? And over the last couple of years, we've really seen a shift in ufology where all of a sudden all of these ex-spooks, ex-government employees are coming out of the woodwork saying, oh, you can trust us. Don't worry about the last 70 years, but you can trust us, and we are going to bring the UFO message here. And is this good for ufology? Is this the direction, Melinda, that we want to be taking?
Well, you're kind of that's a trick question. I think the simple answer is yes, but let me give you a caveat because a lot of people may go, "What?" You know, it's not cut and dry. It's not white and black. Okay, so on one hand, you can say, has the government, if you will, for just to paint that with a very wide, broad brush, have they not disclosed and have they kept this story a secret? Yes. Okay. Without a doubt. The history of the quote cover up unquote, is, it has a long, rich history, and they've not been forthcoming. And we do know, that they've been studying it for a long time. Even in the surface levels, you can separate it out to some degree and say, well, there's the covert world and the breakaway civilization, shadow government, secret space, whatever you want to call it. Okay, any of that. But even on the surface level, there's been involvement in knowledge and a denial of that, even on the most surface levels. The presidents, senators, congressmen, and this goes worldwide. I don't want to paint this in just a U.S. only brush, but, since that's kind of the nature of your question. So yes. Now, there's this group of guys behind what we now know as To the Stars Academy and everything they've been doing. And going back before that with ATIP, OSAP, BASS, Bigelow Aerospace Advanced or Space Studies Science. I can remember the name. Bigelow Aerospace Space Studies, whatever. Okay. And BASS. And then before that, NIDS, National Institute of Discovery Science. And before that, Bigelow. And before that, the Aviary. And, and then the Advanced Theoretical Physics Working Group. And you go back and you go, well, wait a second. And anyone who says, well, the only one who's still in it, who's been a part of all that, is Hal Puthoff. Hasn't been following the bouncing ball. It is a bigger group, and everyone goes back, and it's more entwined than that. I mean, BASS and ATIP were happening at the same time, same people. It's like, come on, So yes, has it changed names over time? But you're talking about a group of people that have been involved. Now, on one hand, you can go, okay, these folks have had, these intelligence and high-level aerospace and the intelligence community involvement and military intelligence, et cetera, et cetera. But my research partner and I, Randy Kopeng, who I've been doing research into the over 40-year history of what we call the working group, which is just a catchphrase to mean this whole group, and how it's changed over the time. We've been doing that research for 28 years. But what we had to do early on was give up, and maybe not that early on, but somewhere about halfway through the 28 years, we realized, wait a second, it wasn't all conspiratorial. These people don't know everything. They just have a toe in to the deeper levels of knowledge, and they're not all the way in. And realizing that they were a group of individuals concerned in getting to the truth of this subject, and yet playing a very cautious game because they had intelligence, clearances. Because of their clearances, they're playing a very, very cautious game. Well, nothing about what's currently going on has changed. In fact, my research partner, Randy Kopeng, is a lot more jaded about this because of this. He goes, what is different? Nothing's different than we've been researching with these groups of guys for 28 years. And I think there's some they're small differences with big importance, or that's a good way to put it. Small differences, but with big importance. But going back to, and Lorien, I know you'll agree with me here because you and I often talk about this. Yes, we have new people in the field, and I agree with Nicole and even Samantha that, it's like, hey, a lot of these new folks, especially the young guys in the field, it's like they have a different mentality. They're more apt to talk about consciousness and the paranormal aspects of this, et cetera. And I applaud them for that. Just about all of them have gotten into that in their discussions here and there in varying ways. I was pointing out Jay before, but he's not alone there. And I applaud them for that. But on the downside to their being new to the field is they don't all know the history really well. And I'm constantly beating the drum on people not knowing the history of the working group. They know just a cursory, but they don't really know it and understand, for instance, that consciousness has always been a part of what that group of people is interested in. Always. It's never not been there. Their interest in abductees has never not been there with the working group. And again, this is the people behind what we now know as To the Stars. And now the more current incarnation is this inclusion into current government of the task force, the UAP task force, Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, or UAPTF. And so you go, well, what does that have to do with the group? Well, it came up from ATIP and is a spin-off of it and is a functioning within the Pentagon group besides the public group. And everyone realized that they're not that cut and dry with separation. It's enough separation for plausible deniability, but that's built in on purpose. the plausible deniability of saying, oh, the To the Stars, they're a public group, and they're, wait a second. This other state, first off, ATIP never went away. So at what point did ATIP, as we knew it with Luis Elizondo at the helm, at what point did it switch to the task force? Well, I think we're all asking that question, but to see it as a continuation, and everybody knows out there, if they don't, let me clue you in, that I've talked to Jim Semivan often. He is Director of Operations for To the Stars and co-founder with Tom DeLonge. And I mean, I don't make a mystery out of that. And I don't mean to be like saying, oh, look who I know. It's not about that. But we have conversations, and I feel like, hey, I'm having those conversations with them. I'm getting some information, some understanding from those conversations that I have a responsibility then, as someone very active in the field, to share that information back into ufology. So it's not like, look who I know and I'm all important, but no, I don't want it to be that. I want it to be, Melinda, I am talking to this guy. But the other part is, yeah.
Don't you think it's fascinating when you go back and look at the history of these people that are painted in a conspiratorial way? And like you mentioned, Hal Puthoff, and we all know the back and forth of the arguments that surround him, and like I mentioned, for people first jumping in and they hear names like this and they hear these controversial statements, what really rang true for me is, like we said, it's the stuff that kind of stands the test of time. Did he have failed experiments? Yes. Was he working on something? Yes. If that's part of science, is failing. That's like a driving force behind science and exploring these paranormal things. And one thing I found fascinating is, if you look at the types of research, it's not just that, oh, he talked to super psychics and it failed, or this experiment didn't go, or they couldn't get enough data. You have to look at this man's career as well. If everything was just bad, or it wasn't moving anything forward or going anywhere, then he wouldn't have had a job for so long. He wouldn't have been able to be in the positions that he's held over the years, over the decades. And that's what's interesting to me, that and I don't think they've ever had anything figured out. I think they're almost as clueless as the rest of us are. They just have better access.
I'm going to argue with that, Nicole. I got to say something, Melinda. See, my take on all this, because what I have done over the years is I have befriended all the people that worked with these guys that I could. And not on purpose. It just happened to work out that way for me. I don't know how I did it, but I have heard stories about things I can't talk about. I promise never to discuss them, but I can tell you guys something. A lot of these guys came across stuff, and they were shown stuff, and they know much more than they're letting on. Trust me, they are.
Yeah, exactly, Lorien. I was going to bring that up too, but Nicole,
they don't have it figured out in the sense of, they can 100% disclose for us and say, this is exactly what we're dealing with.
That's
folks.
true.
Like, that's
true.
what I mean. Yes, they obviously.
Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem that Randy Kopang and I had to figure out in our 28 years of research of these guys. I mean, you guys, this isn't like, oh, let's look into it once in a while. We've been doing concentrated research for over 28 years. And this is what we had to, we early on, we thought they're all knowing, they're deep in, they're lying, they know more. We went the conspiracy route kind of there. And over the years, we've had to realize we almost had to swing the pendulum fully the opposite direction to say they don't know crap, they don't know it all, to then come somewhere in the middle to say these guys, first off, they've all had different levels of clearances. So not all have been all the way in. Jim Semivan recently told me the deepest read in was Hal. Okay. So you go, well, wait a second. They don't, and same with the group going back in history. They've not been all the way in. They've had varying degrees. it's a large group. Even the group now, according to Jim Semivan, is over 40 people. So we all think of To the Stars and everyone thinks of this handful of people. No, and you go on their website and there's like 10 or 8 or whatever it is now. Well, no, it's actually like 40 people, and it may be bigger than that. But it almost doesn't matter, because you go, well, wait a second. Not everyone has every level of involvement or knowledge, and they may not, because it's compartmentalized. You got to, anyone in this field, you got to understand the history of compartmentalization in these covert projects. And so not everyone knows every part. They can't necessarily tell each other what they know. So you go, okay, They all have different levels of knowledge. They all have different level of clearances. They cannot disclose everything to each other. They're very cautious. Certainly anything they say publicly. I always joke about, the TV show Unidentified, and how much Steve Justice is biting his tongue, and he must have a giant hole in his tongue, because every show, it's obvious he's just choking on his words. He knows so much more and has to play like he doesn't know anything, but that's not saying that he knows everything about the UFO part. He just knows a lot about covert projects with Lockheed, but he can't even get into all that, So you go, okay, these guys are all watching their P's and Q's. They're all watching their clearances. They're all, being very cautious, certainly to the public and even to each other. And you go, okay, so are they the big, deep conspiracy? No, but that doesn't mean they're all complete idiots. Some of them know certain parts and have been read in. And that's, I think, part of their motivation is they know enough to know it's real. I mean, I have these conversations with Jim that it's like these guys, unless he's giving me lip service on everything, but even if half of what he tells me is true, which is probably not accurate, but let's say half of it is true, or even 3/4, it doesn't matter. Whatever portion is true, I think that there's an emotion that comes through on our phone calls where it's like these guys know, and he said this to me, we know it's extraterrestrial, we know it's not a threat. I mean, these are things these guys know, but they're having to play this game, this dance.
I would like to step in for just 1 minute. I've been listening for about 10 minutes.
Oh, please do, honey. I know. We got to give you time.
I just came in off of Skywatch. I just want to clear the deck, because there's a lot going on with individual companies, and there's smoke and mirrors and different government higher levels. I was the wife of a full security clearance to the top officer who guarded Edwards Air Force Base. So I could tell you that definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, from my own experience of being in restricted areas where things were happening, that there's some real off-planet experiences happening in the military bases, and they know it. So coming off of Skywatch, I just want to say we just were a group of about 20. I've been taking people out for 10 years, but I've been actually for 20 years. But this particular grouping, we've been working with the same ultra-terrestrials, Galactic Star Federation, High Spiritual Council for 10 years. It is not covert. It is not government. It is not high security. It is simply going out, having the connection in nature where they tell us to come and meet, and doing it in a sacred circle. Now, I know, Lorien, you go out and do Skywatch. For my circle, we've been doing this for this particular group, the Galactic Earth Council, started in 2010. And tonight, we just had the most phenomenal experience of not only the commander of a beautiful fleet that hangs out over the Bay of San Francisco for 45 minutes and sat with us in total reverence. And so I just want to say to your answer, Dave, that the direction is really to understand that it is real and to keep going. This other stuff is keeping you distracted so that you're having these 20-minute conversations when the Galactics are telling me they are ready to integrate fully. You do not have to be a high top security government agent. And I'm telling you, the code is kryptonite, and anything above that, my husband would say to you, my late husband would say, you don't need to know. So I'm here to say my group of 20 people witnessed more than one ship, a command ship sitting still in the sky for 45 minutes while everybody took it all in. This is an advanced group. We take people out that don't have a question, that don't have to consider what is going on with what, because they're ready for the integration and what we as humans, what do we need in the way of technologies? What do we need in the way of healing medicines? What do we need in the way of solving this corona experience? But we have to be willing to just do it ourselves. We do not need the government or any country or any official or anybody to tell us we have our own relationship. So I'm going to leave the floor with that, and then put it on the table and say this to the stars people. They're having their time, and it gives them prestige, and they're following the instructions of how much to give out to the people. But I'm here to say we're all the way full out. We don't need them. We don't need to modulate our lives according to what are you going to tell us that we're going to believe. I just came in, and I'm telling you, we just spent the whole night in reverence and fun. It was illuminating. It wasn't scary. Every person, even a 16-year-old, had the experience. Okay? So that's all I want to say.
Well, Celestine, this is Melinda. I and thank you so much for coming on and speaking up. I forgot you were on with us. And I want to address that only in that, I hear you, and those of us on this call, we're there with you, and we know that we've done the C5s, and we've had that level of contact.
This is not C5, darling. We're not with C5.
But you know what I mean. I just threw that out there. I know. I'm just throwing it out there for the listeners who you know, to couch it in terms that people are used to. Hang on, I'm just don't.
Just a little lady.
But I'm saying we know that, and a lot of the listeners know that. But Celestine, I just took out UFO sighting tour number 1,219 tours is how many I've done, and I take out people on the other end of that spectrum who this is new to them, who need permission and have families and coworkers that need the permission to talk about this. So where does disclosure come in? Do you and me, Celestine, do you and I need disclosure? Oh, hell no. But those people do. And so,
I take that news,
and we need the government, more importantly, to stop lying about everything. But let's start with even stop lying about this subject.
Talking about
ladies, you hold on. Ladies, you hold on, because I'm going to take back the microphones here for a couple of minutes, because we are going to go to break at the bottom of the hour. You women in ufology: Celestine Star, Melinda Leslie, Lorien Fenton, Samantha Mowat, and Nicole Sakach. We continue with the roundtable coming up right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
We're taking Sunday nights out of this world on Spaced Out Radio. This is Michael W. Hall, also known as the Paranormal Lawyer. Together, we're going to go on an exciting journey into the unknown. I'm going to bring you some of the best interviews in the paranormal and supernatural to start your new week off on a freaky note. So tune in to Spaced Out Sundays with me, Michael W. Hall, only on spacedoutradio.com.
We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, hanging out with all of you. Thank you so much for tuning us in on the mighty SOR. I want to remind you that if you have missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we have a lively roundtable discussion happening, Women in Ufology. We've been talking about the disclosure movement. Where is this headed? Is there a narrative going on? We are joined tonight by Celestine Star. I love that name, by the way. Love it. Melinda Leslie, Lorien Fenton, Samantha Mowat, and Nicole Sakach. Samantha, I want to bring you in here for a moment here because, you know, when it comes to disclosure, you're not part of that whole political side of everything. You are trying to figure out what is going on with the experiencer. That's where you maintain your focus. You know, as more experiencers start to come forward, whether it's just seeing a UFO or actually having some sort of contact, do you worry about the idea of the fact of what you've heard tonight, that there is, you know, a little bit, maybe too much government type intervention when it comes to the whole disclosure movement of this topic?
Actually, Dave, I don't really have a lot of concern about how the government necessarily chooses to hold back disclosure, because in my experience with many of the people that I work with through my readings and everything else, it seems as though the extraterrestrials and multidimensionals are actually going around our governments and providing a large amount of contact to people, in the sense that rather than just showing up with like UFOs landing on the front steps of the White House, they're actually starting to see normal everyday people on a greater capacity, making their conscious minds become aware of the extraterrestrial multidimensional nature of reality and the presence of these beings, thus going around our governments, allowing a softer disclosure to occur, not only through the birth of the new children, but through contact on a physical, psychic, and astral level. So no, I'm not as concerned about disclosure in a standard sense, because the beings I work with have explained disclosures occurring in different ways than what we were originally anticipating.
So is it then for you, Samantha, a personal disclosure for each and every one of us, or does it have to be a mass happening like we see that is being presented?
I think it'll be an integration of both based upon what has been presented to me so far. The one thing that I've noticed, and I'm sure the other ladies that we have here tonight are going to notice this as well, that as the generations have changed over the last 100 years, the concept of extraterrestrials and multidimensionals would have been very difficult for all of our great-grandparents to comprehend, let alone the psychic aspect that is included as well. Whereas with each generation that comes forward, going from the lovely boomers to the millennials and Generation X and Generation Z to the new generation and the new children, we're seeing a stronger amount of psychic abilities coming forth, as well as the contact levels seeming to increase, not only in the number of people having contact, but the number of people consciously recalling the contact they're having with the numerous types of beings, which I think is the form of disclosure that seems to be taking place more prevalently at this time.
All right, let's get Lorien Fenton's thoughts on this. Would you agree with Samantha, or do you think there's a little bit more just?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both on both sides of the scale. See, the problem is you're talking to a bunch of women who've all had contact, and we're all on another whole level anyhow. So I understand where Melinda's coming from, where she's saying that disclosure for the masses is what To the Stars Academy is doing and what she does on a nightly basis out in Sedona, giving her tours. These are people who walk on there and they don't even know who, Travis Walton is, for God's sake. I mean, it's I feel bad for her some nights. It must be very frustrating. And then Celestine on the other end of the scale is running a whole group of women that have been contacting the Galactic Federation out there on the mountains in Fairfax for 10 years. And they're just, they're making contact just like it's a normal thing to do. Like I was talking earlier in the show about the fact that women can handle this whole thing so much differently than men. But I think my main point to all this is look at who's actually giving the disclosure. And it is, like Melinda says, the same old guys. For me, it's a tired old group of people that are just giving the same old story over and over again. And they're never going to give us the big disclosure like what we're looking for, because they have to entrain the regular humans on this planet to this state where they finally accept that UFOs are real. And they need to do it in a 5 to 10-year stint, because it takes that long for us to get mind wiped into the next level of understanding. And they're doing a good job of it. They started this whole thing with Tom DeLonge in 2015. It's been 5 years, and we barely, scratched the surface. We're getting videos out of the government now. That's great. We're getting documents thrown at us here and there. Yeah, I think it's wonderful what they're doing for regular people. But again, you're talking to a group of people that are what I call uppercase humans. And uppercase humans are people that have had contact with extraterrestrials, aliens, ascended masters, near-death experiences, all these things combined, because we are not like everybody else anymore on this planet. Not that we're better than anybody, not that we're saying we're just different. We're just not like everybody else. So it's interesting for us to watch how regular disclosure is playing out for the rest of the world. They get to see it in a slow motion kind of endeavor, where of all of us here, like, oh yeah, we've had disclosure, we don't even care about it anymore. We're moving on to bigger and better things like consciousness and talking to God.
I
love that.
I just got a huge download. Am I muted? No. Okay, this one. I just got a huge. I'm going to go full blown woo on everybody here. Dave, I'm going to go full blown woo.
Sure.
You ready?
Let's woo it up.
Okay. I just got a huge download from Spirit during all this, and what they just told me was disclosure. I was saying that the people going on my tour and the general public, like Lorien just said, and yes, they need permission. So that's not that's wrong. But Spirit just gave me this whole thing about disclosure being not for us, not for the general public, but for the government. What do you mean? Spirit just said it's for the government to start coming from a place of consciousness. And not just the U.S. government, but the governmental structures of the world, because it's all one big octopus, as we all know. And you go, well, wait a second, on the deeper level, there's one big worldwide government, whether we like it or not, it exists, But here's the deal. What if it's supposed to raise in consciousness, is what Spirit was just telling me. And we keep saying, well, disclosures to notify all of us. If disclosure is for them to disclose, to move into a consciousness of truth. So the governments of the world are supposed to start operating from truth. They're supposed to start operating from a higher consciousness. So they need disclosure, is what Spirit is telling me.
Interesting. Celestine, what are your thoughts?
Let me breathe into that one. I feel that there are people who are in the know. I would say in the upper echelon, everyone's in the know. How they are utilizing the know is the technologies and moving the reverse engineering and getting the technologies so that they can push it into the corporations and hide the process so that they can keep the patents and it doesn't become public domain, is moved through the greed and the necessity to control. The galactics that I work with call it reverse consciousness. So we can envision, certainly, I don't particularly, I get what you're saying there, that in a sense they're going to awaken to a higher consciousness and become into unified consciousness, which means you share all your toys and your money, but that may be the slow train to Tipperillo. I think they're enjoying the process of holding on to the technologies, whether they bring harm. I just wanted to finish, and I think there's plenty of room. I know science is bringing in consciousness into the foreplay here, and I think they're understanding it. I can't even imagine standing before, when I stand before the beings and I've had contact with their consciousness, with their beingness, talking to me, having conversations, you're going to awaken and you're going to arise right there. But whether you're in a formidable playground where they don't let you speak out what you're learning or what you're doing because they're holding it for a reason, keeping it from the public. That's a difficult thing for them to put down the shields and say, we want to play with you. Yes, we've been holding on to this technology, and yes, we could have free energy and, zero gravity, 10 years ago. We could have had, moving from one time place to the other, as Lorien brought those beautiful people to talk about time travel. I don't see it really happening in the future, but I see the cracks. What I see is calling forth the brilliant ones to get into office, to step forward so that they can step down these restrictions and say, okay, we want to share with the public a little bit more. We want to open ourselves. So I see what your spirit is saying, and I feel that is a timeline that's a possibility in the future. But sitting here right now and knowing these, knowing the inside, I was in the Dragon's Den where, the Icemen came to our home after had an experience with a reptilian on Edwards. And believe me, they're not playing around. So I totally get what Spirit is saying and what you're saying, but for them to stop working with certain off-planet intelligences is going to take a lot. Even there, I felt when I was in there that some of them were actually trapped. Okay, they've trapped themselves into situations that even they may not be able to get into. When you're in the very deep levels way back in there, the to the stars is the lighter end of it, but there's parts that would take the act of God to go in and shut some of it down and open up the field so that we can access. That's what I would say.
Yeah, you started to go there, Celestine, and that I was saying, you were starting to get my point was the beginning of a process for the government to not see its governments of the world, to not see it as separate from the people, but as a connection to the people and responsive in them being way showers. Like you said, it'll shift over the years with higher vibration people getting into those positions and whatnot. But for them to be the way showers, the educators, the sharers of knowledge, not the secret holders of knowledge, which they've been for so long. I mean, for all of human history, those in power have become, how they keep the power is to keep the information from you. They become the holders of the knowledge. Mm-hmm. And so this is disclosure of the ET presence, gives them a roadmap, gives them permission to say, now we can start being responsive to those we govern and be the teachers, the educators, the way showers about consciousness, to as opposed to putting themselves as being something separate. That's what I meant by now Spirit is saying it gives them the way to start being truthful, and it's a place to start. We can start with this subject. We can start with being truthful about an extraterrestrial presence and our place in the universe, because all of us on this phone call know, because it's all about consciousness, that once that information is out, everything changes. It's like a giant golden key that unlocks the door into understanding consciousness, life after death, energy. Once you realize that we are involved with beings out there in a huge, endless universe, and a lot of them are a lot older and a lot wiser than us.
They have that contact and they choose not to, because some of the contact that they have is not of beneficial effect. They will,
yes, but what I'm saying is let's get disclosure so they start going in the direction of truth, responsibility, and fulfilling a guide teacher role as opposed to an adversary role.
And
through disclosure It's the key to start that process. Yes, it's going to take a long time, but it's been thousands of years in the making. If it takes thousands of years to reverse it, I don't think it will, though.
All right, let's get Nicole in here for a minute because I want to get her opinion.
Well, I think some of my takeaways from that segment of conversation is it is kind of up to us, like I think I brought up in the break. There is a difference between government disclosure and personal disclosure. And yes, those of us that are experiencers already have a certain amount of disclosure. We already know. We've explored this. We've talked to our beings, our guides, whatever you want to call them, the invisibles. And I think what is really going on is that when we talk about government disclosure, generally, what we're really looking for is validation. It's not that we need the government to disclose this. We want them to validate the thousands and thousands of experiencers or experiences that people have on a day-to-day basis. And we don't just want it validated from that perfect military witness that is a very limited perspective, but it's held to the highest degree because they're highly trained or this or that, or they're a scientist. Like, no, we want to be validated as being the average everyday person. And so, like any movement, and we've discussed this in the disclosure panels, like with any movement, socially, it takes the people. And whether you're in government or out of it, it is up to us to bug legislators or push the issues to the forefront. And that's in our hands. We all have to come together and do that as a community and not just wait for that I told you so moment. We all want to go, I told you so. I told you so. They're here. They're all around. We see them. It's happening. Yes. I think we've all had those moments in the past few years, or just with our friends and our family when they finally
Nicole,
awaken to what we're
Nicole, I
experiencing.
want to ask you about something that you just said, though. What if the public, or even those who are experienced, aren't aware of where these beings are actually coming from? What if it's not just extraterrestrial? What if it's interdimensional or some sort of spiritual portal that is opening up here, and these horrid creatures are coming through? There's a lot of doorways that haven't been checked, and I think that could be part of the reason why there is all of this discernment of what is trying to, or what can be released to the public and what shouldn't. And that's why we're not allowed to talk alien right now.
I think some of that is the confusion and fear factor, maybe I'm echoing Joe Biden's speech today. But we can handle it. And maybe that's a little bit of my mother side coming out. As a single mother, there isn't anything I can't handle. I got this. I have to have this. I can't be that way for my son. I can't not handle aspects of my life. Just like all the trials and tribulations in life, at some point you go, snap, I'm out of it. I got this. This is what I got to do. And yes, it is going to take leadership in some roles when elements like this come out socially and globally. But come on, I think it sells us short to say we can't handle this. That's terrible. It goes against everything that I believe in as a human being. I can handle it. Don't treat me like a baby. I'm 40 years old next month. Bring it on.
Wow. Just dropping that 40-year-old thing. Samantha.
My God. It keeps bumping me out.
Well,
Sorry,
there you are.
I don't know why.
That's That's okay. We got you here. We got you here. All right. In regards to all the different types of beings that are potentially in play here for the disclosure, is this way more about maybe the fear of the amount of entities that are here rather than just saying it's aliens from another world?
If you're wanting my understanding, sorry, I missed part of this. It bumped me off of Skype for some reason. Dave, in my opinion, we are actually looking at something that's been known by humanity for tens of thousands of years. The name has just changed, and because of the name change, I think that's part of where the problem comes in. We're calling them extra dimensionals and multidimensionals now. They were extraterrestrials and aliens previously. Before that, they were seen as everything from angels to Djinn to you name it. It's the different names coming to place that I think is actually throwing humanity off, because when we change the names, you change the relevant history that has been passed down in relation to these beings. If we look at the gentleman, go ahead.
No, please continue.
If, as we were discussing earlier, a lot of the people that have done a lot of research in reference to history of these beings have been gentlemen. And if we were to cite their work and look at it, we would see that quite often they will notice, hey, these beings have been referred to as fairies. And yes, there are different types of beings that are fairies versus extraterrestrials, but sometimes the work of the Greys was often attributed or given credit to the fairies, when in actuality they're different things. Same thing with Djinn and everything else. You change the names of the beings, call them gods, goddesses, whatever, and then you give them a new name, you lose the information that was present with the beings that we were once referred to. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I get you.
The names
I think that's a really good point.
Well, I think the names are changed often enough to make it so we can't gain enough information to maintain relevance with what has been shared so far. We're like, oh, our silly ancestors believing in the gods and goddesses. Oh, our silly ancestors believing in this, that, or the other thing. When in actuality, we're talking about the same thing they were talking about.
Yeah. I think that's
many people have never thought about it that way.
That's just something that's brought up. Yeah. Well, I think it's relevant for us to think differently than how we've been viewing it, because if we don't change our perspective on these matters, we're never going to come to new understandings, new realizations, and move ahead with the problem. It's that
all
simple.
right, we got 1 minute here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. And Lorien, when we come back, I want you to kick off hour number 3, talking about the narrative, because this is something that you and I had a private conversation about just the other day in leading up to this show. And I know you have some very strong opinions about the potential narrative that is being played out, not only in the UFO community, but within the mainstream media as well. And you know, and I know many of you on the panel and definitely our listeners know that I have been very, very vocal in regards to the way this media narrative is being played. And I do not think for a second that it is healthy or good for anybody in the UFO field, especially those who are experiencers. So I want to get into that with our panel tonight. We have on our Women of Ufology, we have Samantha Mowat, we have Lorien Fenton, we have Melinda Leslie, Nicole Sakach, Celestine Star. We're going to go the distance on this tonight because this is the first ever all-women's panel that we have done on Spaced Out Radio, and I'm pretty proud that we are actually jumping into this fray because we have some of the most brilliant minds in ufology talking with us tonight. All for you, all to fill out the information that you were searching for. More Spaced Out Radio with Hour 3 next.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Hello everyone. This is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Kicking off the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. All of our archives are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Quacksalver. Quacksalver is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show and on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Tonight we are going the distance in the Women of Ufology, the first ever all-female panel that I have put on this show, and I'm proud that we have done this, and we definitely will do it again. Melinda Leslie is here. Celestine Star, Samantha Mowat, Nicole Sakach, and Lorien Fenton are here. And Lorien, I'm going to kick things off with you here because, you know, you and I had a discussion earlier this week when we talked about leading up to this show. And we talked about the media narrative in the mainstream media, about how we keep seeing the same people being interviewed, how the media is not delving into anything in the past. This is a touchy subject, and the main reason why it is, I believe, is there are very few in the field of ufology who actually understand how the media works and how they go about covering stories. And when you're fed everything that you are fed by the certain groups around the ufology field right now who've done a brilliant job at getting the message into the public, it still is wondersome a little bit as to whether or not the media understands the importance of this story.
They don't understand. It's that simple. And I'll tell you why. Okay, let's go to the Tucker Carlson thing I was talking to you about the other day. I love Tucker Carlson. I think he's great. But he is one of the few that will touch ufology. And the way he does it, though, you can tell he's being controlled because somebody's back there saying, yeah, touch upon it, say this is an important event, talk to Captain Favor, or Favor, whatever's Flavor, whatever his name was, and make it sound like it's really an important event. But, don't give anything where it's like, yeah, I think this is so important, we need to do something about it, or you guys should all get out there and call your congressman and say, let's make sure that every one of these guys who's seen a UFO gets to stand in front of Congress and talk about it. Never giving the full-blown thing. It's just, wow, this is cool. And then you go to, is it Glenn Beck? There's a whole bunch of guys out there who have taken on the UFO thing. It's wonderful they did it, but they only take it to the edge, and then they kind of go, well, that's interesting. Geez, we should do something about that, and then it's the end of the show. And then you just don't ever hear about it, for 6 months until the Washington Post or To the Stars Academy says, hey, you guys, here's here's another nugget for you. Go ahead and talk about it, but be sure to only talk up to this point. And then at that point, you got to be quiet. And then the people they're interviewing are all the same faces. Every time I turn around, it's the same people all the time. I'm not going to name names again, but literally, it's all men. Always. There's one woman in this fray, and I got to give her all the kudos in the world for sticking it out and even doing anything in this field anymore, because I know she's disgusted with it, and that's Leslie Kean. She's kept going. She keeps writing books. She's an amazing force in ufology, and I adore her for that. And a couple of other women that are very important to it are Annie Jacobson and Diane Paluska, if I'm saying her name correctly.
Pasalka.
I think they're very Pasalka. Thank you. Yeah. And these women have brought some real intellect and spiritual analyzation on Diana's part, and historic. I think actually Annie Jacobson does a better historical overview than this guy out there that I won't mention his name, and does an amazing job and really digs into stuff. And she's never gotten the credit in this community that she deserves. And, again, going back to the whole thing, we get to a point where they control the narrative, and it's always the same guys behind it. If you and I, Dave, had a magic wand, we would find that behind our little magic wand of clearing the air, it's all the same faces. It's all the people that Melinda and I have been talking about for 40 years controlling the narrative. And I know those guys are controlling the media and letting only so much information come out. And I'll just leave it at that.
The disappointing part for me, and I don't know if this panel knows this, but the last time I tried to get a member of the To the Stars Academy on the show, their media person up here in Canada actually asked me to provide questions. And they wanted to see my questions before they would agree to an interview. That is usually held for people of authority and in power, much like a president down in the United States or the prime minister up here in Canada, okay, where if you want to do a select type of interview, they ask for the questions ahead of time. So that way they can look prepared, and that way they don't look like a fool in front of the camera.
Or better yet, they give you the questions to ask, which has happened to me before.
Exactly. And I don't agree with that. Let's just be open, because here's my whole take on it. When you try to control the media, you control the message. And why are we trying to control the message here? What is the secret that they are trying to hold out? Nicole, let's get you in here and talk about this. We'll get to you in a second.
And I can answer that question, but let Nicole go, but I definitely have an answer to that.
Sure, Nicole.
I would let Melinda definitely answer that, because I don't think there's a big secret. I think it's mired in the cog of how it has to be to come out. And yeah, I don't think it's a secret. I just think it's a hard fight.
Okay, Melinda, go ahead.
In part, Nicole's right. That's half of it. The other half is they don't want it to go. I'm not saying I agree, okay? I'm just saying, after talking to Jim and everything, I know that as far as those guys go, they don't want it to get beyond certain subjects for starters. Part of that is...
Okay, hold on one sec. I'm going to debate you on that, but that shouldn't be their concern. Okay, if they don't want the narrative to go, the media's job is to ask the questions.
I'm not defending them. Not defending them. I'm just sharing what I've heard, and others who are talking to them, to other members, not just me, are kind of hearing the same stuff, and it's to get the approval from Senate and the Congress and the Pentagon. So really, that's ultimately directing what they're coming out with. And they know that certain subjects, it won't get the approval. It won't get the funding. It won't get the research. It won't get the 180-day report back to Senate. So, to get that report going back to the Senate, and for those that don't know, I would hope everyone would, but there's a bill that was passed by the Senate that's now gone to Congress. When Congress, comes back together after their break, it'll get voted on. And it's for a part of the intelligence bill, but it's these 8 line items that specifically deal with UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, and a task force, which is already, the Pentagon says, we already have the task force. So this is for the funding of the task force, an additional, this report that's supposed to come back to the Senate, and Congress will have their say-so in it, so they may give it more time. But this report's supposed to, and this all gets enacted with the beginning of the fiscal year for the government, or for the intelligence community, which will start, that fiscal year actually starts October 1st. So after they come back from break in September, they vote on this. It goes to the president for signature. But the task force already exists. So when I asked Jim, I'm like, wait a second, if that's for approval of the task force, and yet the task force not only exists, but they've been very public about it. They put out an official press release on the defense.gov website, saying this exists. So he says, well, that's because they know that this is going to get signed by Congress. They already know. So they went ahead and came out with it. And this is, that's the cart before the horse. But now it's just a matter of getting the approval for the money, But defined
Melinda,
in there.
wait, Melinda, you just got to stop, because, hey, it's great that these guys are doing what they're doing, but I have to really take not offense, but just like, I got to take a stance here, because, it's like my friend Roger Stone. He's been vilified. He's been this, he's been that because of his politics. But what people don't know is he's written an amazing book about the JFK assassination. Okay. And that's how I know him. And you're like saying, well, they're doing all this for that. But, we as the media, we as the ufology people, we as all these people out here, I want to know what the hell else is going on with these guys, besides the fact that they're just looking for money from the Senate and trying to scare the bejesus out of all the Congress people.
Lorien, you missed my point. The whole point was the task force already exists. It's so that we get the 180-day report. So I'm going to answer your question right there. The 180-day public
What's that got to do with ufology,
though? Back to the Senate. Well, no, because that goes back to the Senate, and that's made accessible to the public. If that happens, and that comes back to the Senate, and they've promised, who knows? But that's what I'm saying.
Well, that's
accessible to the public, and that 180-day report will get into what all the branches of intelligence community know about not everything about the UFO subject. They are starting with incursions into airspace and whatnot, but at least getting into what is known as far as what are the different branches, what have they looked into, what have been their programs, and getting into that there's that presence, okay? And that's the beginning. I then said to Jim, are you guys done at that point? And he said, oh, no, I know, but hell no. He said, then we go back and tell them, this is where you dig deeper based upon the information received back from all the branches of intelligence. This is where you guys dig deeper into the stovepipes, what's known by each individual branch. And then you can get into later specific cases like crash retrievals and everything. But they're going to start with,
it doesn't make any difference for any of us here in ufology.
What's in it for ufology is that it's supposed to be a public report. It's not what's in it for ufology. It's what's in it for the world, is that it's supposed to be a public report. If that happens and that's public, we live in a different reality. You guys, we live in a different reality when that happens. Yet some of us
let me extend that a little further.
Hold on. Let's let somebody else have a say here. All right, Celestine, you wanted to make comment here?
Oh, that was me, Dave. Nicole.
I just want to take a breath on that one because.
You're more than welcome to.
Down into the nuts and bolts here. I want to thank, what is it, Miranda or Melinda?
Melinda.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing the bill that's on the ready from the Senate to the Congress. I think these things are happening for people that need that. For the ufologists, we need the media to let go. We need a channel that's free to speak. In England, they had the Speaker's Corner where you could just step up, and they still have Speaker's Corner where you could just say what you need to say, and it's not filtered, or you don't need to have exact words so that you could get funding. And I think that's the difficulty here, to even recognize that if you're going to go into the To the Stars platform, that everything is modulated so that precise words are said, precise information is said. And I agree with you, Dave, it's too controlled. I agree with you, Lorien, it's too controlled, but it is a pocket of security for certain people who do not understand the depths and the awakenedness, what is there, because as we spend 15 months trying to get somebody to sign legislation and have the president say yes, we have been out in Skywatch. Most of us who are doing Skywatch are talking to people or having experiences, and we are moving the civilization forward. I mean, that's what's more important right now, is to recognize that the veil is dropping, that there's a higher frequency, that we're interfacing with a dimensional field of a higher intelligence, and that's some of the seeing the sightings a little bit more, people becoming more psychic, intuitive. There's a whole evolution of consciousness that's happening, and it's not waiting for Congress. It's not waiting for Senate. It is happening right now.
We're going to get Nicole. We're going to get Nicole in here right now. Nicole, you wanted to make a point.
Could I just finish what I was going to say?
Sure.
Just that.
Sure.
Okay, great. So what I'm saying is that the time for evolution is here. And the sooner that the media is grasping and has the government has a chokehold on all of the media, the 6 major medias and these different things. But when we come into, we need to have a place where you can open up and speak freely. I was with a guy in Australia, and he had a connection through Russia, and they cut him off today. You try to put something on YouTube, it gets cut off. Facebook, it's cut off. Everything is so controlled. So, we have to use our intelligence to go outside. And thank you, Dave, because you're giving us the voice. You are the media. And thank you for opening the channel, because the whole human race is moving forward in evolution of consciousness. And this little stuff with the Senate is fine for certain people, but not for the whole world. And that's what I would say.
Well, before we bring in Nicole here, and I think that's a great comment, Celestine. Before we bring in Nicole, Eve in the chat room says, I think that is why Congress is freaking. The cat is out of the bag. And maybe that is so. Nicole, your point.
What I wanted to add to this is that I think I mentioned on our break that we're looking for validation from the government, and not just ours, worldwide government, to validate this experiences. And more so, even once we have a form of validation where this is being taken seriously, that's when we get to call upon all of our scientists out there and these elements of science that we are now seeing that explain the phenomenon. And this has been something that we have seen through the evolution of experiencers from the first contactees back in the 50s, starting this movement of awakening and this move towards consciousness. I really see this government push for disclosure as a way to open up the scientific field into this realm of spirituality. And I think this big disclosure, or this big shocker that we keep hearing little whispers of, whether it's from Tom DeLonge or what Valet has been trying to convey for decades, I think what we're on the cusp of for our global society to move towards this empathetic global way of conscious thinking is really going to be a podium for scientists to step up and go, you know what, this is what we have discovered about the phenomenon and consciousness over the last 30 years. And it's telling us, here, my theory, my opinion, it's going to be something like, we all thought we sprang up biologically and grew into consciousness, but now we're starting to figure out that consciousness has biology has arose because of consciousness. It's a fundamental part of this quantum world scientifically that we keep discussing. But this is also what experiencers and contactees have been trying to convey for decades. Nicole. And we're seeing a convergence of these.
Beautifully said.
Yes.
That's all I want to say. It's so beautifully said.
Yes.
Samantha, you and I have talked about, a number of topics over the years in regards to getting the message out. When you have a message that is controlled like what we are seeing now, how healthy is that for the experiencer involved?
It's not. It impacts their mental health because they get taught by society that because of the things that they're experiencing, these things can't be real, and therefore they feel neglected and as though they're not understood, which leads to isolation. It leads to bullying. It leads to people being disregarded, and in some cases being isolated away from their family members who are...
That sounds like the coronavirus. Had to say it.
Yeah, I agree. It actually is horrible for the mental state of the people who are contactees. We all suffer from one degree of, I hate to say it, but some form of mental illness or another, because most of us have PTSD from our MyLab experiences. All of us are going through horrific, well, in the past at least, experiences that have led to us not being able to share these traumas with others. And I've been very fortunate. I can share it with my family, my friends. And not everyone is lucky enough to have that situation. Many people who are contactees, or if they're going through the evolution of consciousness, are isolated. And they question their sanity when in actuality, they're going through a very real thing, a very natural aspect of our evolutionary process. But they're not being given the opportunity to share that with others due to ridicule. And this leads to isolation, which isn't healthy.
Right. We've got just over a minute to go here. Melinda, I believe you were going to speak.
Okay. Can I say something real quick before this break? I agree with everything you just said, Samantha. And because of that, I was thinking at some point tonight, if the timing was right, I'd make this announcement. I wanted more information to make it tonight, but based upon what you said, I think it's perfect right now. I'm going to start a coalition. I've been thinking this literally for months, and for the past month have put a lot of thought into it. Mm-hmm. Some kind of coalition to protect the rights of experiencers, contactees, abductees. I hate that it all has different names, but, for anyone that's had any form of contact, that that their rights are protected, that we know where people stand. You just said the ridicule, because while I support in part the current efforts on disclosure, I have great concerns. Richard Dolan's been recently talking about what if this is just a partial disclosure and it only goes so far and doesn't go farther. I have concerns about that. And I have concerns about the way it's coming across, because if it is perceived that others, whoever the others are, extraterrestrial or whatever, that they're perceived in any threat capacity.
Melinda, I got to get you to hold on right there, because we're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. The Women in Ufology continues on Spaced Out Radio next.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. For more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hey Spaced Out Radio fans, it's John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from dance to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night, where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. My hair is looking fine. I know you can't see it. You'll have to trust me on that. I want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show and on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, we're going the distance with our panel. Women in Ufology. We have Lorien Fenton. We have Samantha Mowat, Nicole Sakach, Melinda Leslie, and Celestine Star joining us. And right before the break, we were talking about narratives that are going on. And Melinda was bringing up a good point about a group that she wants to try and create. Melinda, go ahead.
Well, I was talking about it anyways tonight, but when Samantha brought up that people's experiences have the ridicule. And we see it playing out in the world right now with protests, and you have the BLM movement and Antifa and et cetera, et cetera. But you go, okay, well, wait a second. There's a lot of human rights issues coming up now, and a lot of abuse of rights. I'm not pointing at any side, all sides, and worldwide abuse of rights. And I'm very concerned that as disclosure goes forward, whatever portion thereof as we get it, so it's not going to be all up front right away, obviously. It's going to take many years of a slow unfoldment. At any point, as Richard is often saying, it can stop, it can be blocked, or at least be blocked for a period of time, so it's like, and we're all frustrated in the community. We want it to happen quicker. It's not, whatever, but at least we're getting the beginnings of something that we haven't had in the 30 years I've been in the field. So we, it's like we can all get upset about, we can say, well, we're further along than we've been in 30 years that I've been here as far as in the field. But I'm constantly concerned as an experiencer, as a contactee, MILAB, paranormal person, and everything. I'm constantly concerned about the rights of us, individuals like myself, and the way, like Samantha just said, people are afraid to talk. There's the ridicule. They have no one to go to. Well, what if that extrapolates into any form of disclosure that doesn't embrace that? And I can't see any of the forms of disclosure embracing it much. So that makes me extremely concerned. It's like, what if we're the scapegoats? Are we seen as the enemy? As we're seen as cavorting with the enemy? Are we seen, as crazy? Are we seen as something to be feared? Could that carry out? So I want to work. I'm going to approach. I have not done so yet. I'm going to approach a couple of the top lawyers in this field. And a couple of top experiencers and experiencer researchers to hopefully work together to do something where we know what are our rights, what applies to us that's already on the books, and what do we do and how do we handle it if we come under any attack. And I don't want to wait till disclosure happens to then mop up after the fact that abductees or contactees or anybody are experiencing extreme ridicule or under attack or, being threatened or whatever. Let's not wait. I want to say people need to understand the language that they need to use right now to avert any problems or, what is the language? What is the way to approach it? what are your rights? What things are already in place that we can use, to protect us, that are already on the books, and so and get that information out there, disseminate it to people with experiences and to the various experiencer groups and everything, so that we're proactive on this, because as disclosure goes forward, this part may not be talked about, and it could be problematic. And when it is talked about, it could be problematic. I hope it never is. I hope that this information and this knowledge being disseminated and understood by people with experiences is something we never need to use. But I see what's unfolding in the world, and I see the way that this disclosure is unfolding, and those two things together make me extremely concerned. So I want to start a coalition of people that are watching out for the rights and the human rights of the experiencers, and then even eventually even addressing things like, where does that put the hybrids, in that, what do they become? That's even down the road. But let's start addressing these things now, and a group of people and legal people that if someone has any problem, they've got a legal recourse and people they can go to about it. So I'm very, very serious about this, and I'm going to approach some people. I have a feeling all the people that are on my A list to approach about this are going to say absolutely. I have no doubt that they're going to be on board.
Good. That's wonderful.
Samantha.
No, I just wanted to add that one little bit, Dave. It's fine.
Oh, that was powerful.
Thank you, Samantha. Well, I agreed with everything you were saying, and that's exactly why I've been thinking about this for months. And so thank you for bringing it up, because that gave me the perfect moment to address that.
All right,
it's my pleasure. I'm happy to help.
We've only got about 13 minutes here, and I want to get into the experiencer side of things here. Celestine, I want to ask you right off the bat here, and because we're running out of time, ladies, I'm going to get you to kind of keep your answers to about a minute and a half at length here. All right. Celestine, with the experiencers, the one thing that I'm noticing, and many others are as well, is that the side of the experiencer, the people who are having contact or regular visitations, they seem to be the forgotten souls of ufology right now. Do you feel this is the case? And if so, how do we improve on that?
Well, I have a tendency to agree. We're not so much the lost souls, but when you go to a conference where people are looking for information, unless you go to Lorien, her conferences, the San Francisco UFO conference, where she puts the experiencers out there, and they can say their stories with legitimacy and respectfulness. But some of the other ones, the other big conferences where people go to get the information, you really have to have your book. You have to be an expert. Scientific. I mean, I was told that I could not speak at a certain conference because they were going to only have, quote, scientists. And I have to tell you, scientists don't always have the ticket. In fact, a lot of them are using formulas that are not even the proper formulas from going back into Einstein times. Some of those were purposely misleading to keep humanity from moving forward in the same way as getting information about extraterrestrials. Right. They convoluted the formulas. And so now, unless you're really ahead in the information of quantum science and things like that, you just, even these scientists are, to find consciousness, that's a little ways, because they're still trying to figure out the original formulas. So I would agree that you're not going to find us being placed, in the New York Times, except for to make fun. I've had people bring me onto radio talk shows and try to make fun. I had a scientist, they put me up against a scientist, right? And they were actually some friends of mine. And as I spoke, the scientist was very interested in what I was saying, but my friends who were leading the show was trying to make fun of me. I suddenly realized I was not in a protected space. So I just agree. I'm going to keep it short. Yes, thank you very much. And what needs to be done is just what you're doing, Dave. Having an open channel where people can say, I know I can get direct source, and I know the experiencers will be speaking, and they're going to tell their experience, and it's formidable. What we have to share, the technologies, the starships that we see, the technologies, the beings that we see, the immortals, the going to the other side, which I've gone and come back. All these things are important because that's what is going to be opening up for humanity, the opportunities. So thank you so much, Dave. And
No problem.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, let's get over to Nicole here. Nicole, your thoughts. Are the experiencers the forgotten souls? Yes, no? Where did Nicole go?
I don't hear her.
I don't know. Maybe she's on mute. Did we lose her? No, she's still there. While we're waiting for Nicole to come back, Samantha, let's get to you.
I agree. We are the forgotten souls, but that's a temporary thing. I'll just give it more time and we'll be brought to the surface, whether it's us or the next generation. Either way, that information's coming forward. There is a need for it, and because there's a need for it, it will be filled. It will come to the surface because there are souls searching for a deeper understanding of what is going on. And so with time, we will get the chance to share that information. That's okay. It'll just take a while.
Almost sounded like you channeled that.
Probably.
Yeah. I think she's been
It's like I do it for work or something.
Oh, there's been a couple of times where there's Samantha, and then there's been robotic Samantha tonight, where all of a sudden it sounds like you're channeling something.
Okay, what do I do for a living? Literally, come on, people.
I know.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Lorien, let's go to you.
What was the question?
In
talking about.
in regards to whether or not people who have had experiences are the now forgotten souls of ufology because of the way the field has changed so drastically, so fast.
Well, the funny part is it never really changed. There's always been this group of people out there running the narrative, controlling the system, and it's just we're still where we were. What scares me, and I'm not trying to be negative here, folks, is people like Stan Romanak have been silenced. Chris Bledsoe was silenced for a very long time. He's now out in the field talking about his experiences. But it gets to a point where, when your experience happens and you get out there, you're talking about it, and then suddenly you're silenced. It's like everybody forgets about you because we're on a 30-second news cycle now. And this is what's very scary for me is that everybody in ufology, the second they hear something bad about somebody, they instantly just ignore the person like they never existed and they move on and they never look back. And they should be looking back because all those people in ufology that got silenced, those are the ones in the end we're going to find out knew more than we can ever even shake a stick at, and the government was totally afraid of them. So I'm just throwing that out. I don't think we're forgotten. I think we're scrutinized, and I think they're afraid of us on a government level.
Interesting. Okay, Nicole, do we have you back yet? Did you figure out your mute button?
Yes, I couldn't. I was on a different screen, and I couldn't figure out how to get back to it. But I'm here now. I agree with what the other gals have said. I do think experiencers have been silenced over the years. And I don't even think it necessarily is in right now with modern times. I think it's been any experiencers from, Adamski on through to Chris Bledsoe. There's always that negativity or the debunker crowd or the skeptical crowd. And that same crowd is also the group that, if we're speaking of rings and levels, they're also obviously on a lower level of thinking about the grand scope of this. And I do hope disclosure in this current movement gives all experiencers the empowerment to come forward and speak their truth and really explain the phenomenon from their point of view. Because I think that is what gets lost to the public when they hear about all of us different experiencers sharing our stories. It's all so wild and different because there are so many contact modalities and different ways to engage in this field. And people don't grasp that yet, but they will once they start hearing people like Chris Bledsoe speak, or Jim Peniston, who has been speaking out over the years, and even Linda Moulton Howell. I was just having a side conversation about her beautiful cats, Chocolate and Fluffy, and she has had some amazing experiences. And I think we're getting to a level in our global community of acceptance of these different types of spirituality or lack of spirituality. And we're privileged in this modern country that we live in, the United States and Canada too. We do have freedom of speech, and we have protections from institutions. We are truly past the days of the Catholic Church having the say in these things, of whether these experiences are wrong or right or bad or good. 100 years ago, all of us probably would have been burned at the stake somehow, or thrown in a freaking water pit to see if we would float or sink. Just for talking about these strange experiences, or let alone being able to possibly heal somebody. Or, it's just mind blowing to me, all the avenues of wonder that could come out from the power of experiencers. And when we get taken seriously, when we can shut down the skeptics that can't understand the perspective or put themselves in our shoes, they're never going to get it. They'll get it in their next round in the meat suit. It's our job to keep talking about it for the next generation.
Melinda, let's hear from you.
Yes. Okay. Now, in answering your question about word it the way you worded it, which was, was it sidelined or overlooked? What was your actual wording?
The forgotten souls of ufology.
The forgotten souls. Okay. Well, I think you nailed it with the way you just phrased it, which is why when you say that again, we're the forgotten souls of ufology. Okay. Experiencers, but not from those who have been maintaining the secret, and even those trying to bring it out. When you go into, oh God, I could look at from both angles. Let's go into the working group, the 40-year history of the working group. Their first, and they are to the stars ATIP, the task force. They are. Everybody just grasp that. Go back and watch my full presentation on that on UFO Denmark if you don't grasp it. And that's not to blow my horn. That's just because you need to know there's a history there. But that history from day one, from their first formal meeting in 1985, one of their primary objectives was abductees and lots of the various aspects of what happens to the abductees, etc. In other words, they have had an interest in the experiencer, contactee, and abductee from day one. It has been a big part of their whole thing. Absolutely. And it still is. How do we know that it's a big part of what they're doing now? When you go to their effects on the human body stuff, the DNA stuff, all of that. And with the metamaterial stuff is also the implant research that they paid and got the implant removals from Dr. Roger Lear. Okay, so you go into abductions are still a big part of what they're doing. They always have been. Absolutely no doubt there. And then you go into the shadow government, the ones maintaining the secret, and it's come up in this conversation with most of us on this call. are mill labs. Those guys know full well the covert, deep, secret space, breakaway civilization, or shadow government, or all the above. They know, and that they have an interest in the abductees. Why do mill labs happen? Because they want to know what the abductees know. They want to know about our genetics and our psi abilities, and our unique genetics and our DNA. They want to know what we've been told and shown and taught, and the technology we've learned from the ETs, and what the ET agenda is, and everything that they're asking the abductees in those experiences. So you go into the To the Stars guys and the task force, and everything preceding them has absolutely had an interest in the experiencer and contactee all along, and the covert world has had an interest and that have seen the importance. So I like the way you worded it, Dave, because where we are the lost soul is in ufology, and that needs to change, because you guys, the ETs are here for a reason. It is a lot to do with the experiencers and the contactees that they're here. We've discussed tonight it's about consciousness. That's why they're here, and they're here about the hybridization program. Why is that? That is also about consciousness.
All right, Melinda, I got to cut you off there. I got to cut you off because I got to get things wrapped up here. I want to say a big thank you to Samantha Mowat, Melinda Leslie, Celestine Star, Lorien Fenton, and Nicole Sakach for coming on our first ever All Women in Ufology panel. We will be doing this again, and probably again after that, because there's a lot of issues that are coming up in ufology. We need to discuss it. We need to make sure that everybody has a voice here, because that's what we do on Spaced Out Radio. Thank you, ladies, for just a wonderful, wonderful show. You hold on, because we got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone participating in our chat rooms tonight on Spreaker, YouTube, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club on our website, and at hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Twitter. Very good job by all of you. Thank you so much for having some fun with us tonight. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. The Woo train has docked for the night. But guess what? Very soon, we're going to ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night.